name's Sharon Young, and recently I had an experience presenting my idea worth sharing at TEDx Drapanos Women talk in European Sustainability Centre in Crete. I was so inspired by the organiser of this event and the work that she is doing. I wanted to bring you an interview with her so that you can be inspired at the work that's being done in sustainability. Sharon built the European Sustainability Academy, ESA, in 2011 in Crete as a beautiful, purpose-built, off-grid, bioclimatic, biophilia designed international centre for immersive and experiential learning retreats for sustainable business leaders and managers. Sharon's publications and research focus on how people make sense about enacting sustainability. She is a certified and highly experienced adult and higher education teacher faculty in the field of startups and thrivability in sustainable businesses. She has 19 years experience of working in the executive education sector in both academia and in bespoke corporate leadership development and consultancy. She also has 20 years international experience as a mentor to startups, young aspirational entrepreneurs, and has designed international blended learning programs, including Women in Sustainable Enterprise, which is WISE, and Growth Through Sustainability, GTS. She has strong educational qualifications and a practical business background of leadership and serving on boards of directors since her 20s. She's a true inspiration, a woman who has so much integrity and stands by her words and is outstanding in many ways. I know I not only speak for myself, but all the other women who talked at TEDx Drapanos Women event, who would say that we received top-class mentoring and that supported us to enable us to show up. This enabled me to share my idea worth spreading about sustainable health and how it will save the planet. So I really hope you enjoy this interview with Sharon, and all her details are in the post. So please go and check out the centre. It's absolutely amazing and I couldn't recommend it anymore. So enjoy the video.
So what was the catalyst that inspired you to build ESA, and why did you choose Drapanos as a location?
Well, that's a good question, Sharon. And to answer that, I probably need to go back a little bit to what I was doing before I was teaching sustainability leadership in Drapanos at ESA. So I had 15 years in very senior roles and board directorships in the electronics industry. From when I was in my 20s, actually, that was my career. And around 2000, I just got so upset with what the electronics industry was doing to the environment across the world, across the planet. And a few other things were happening as well. I just really disliked what I was having to do as a senior director in a very large electronics company. So I resigned my 15-year career, feeling really like a hole in my stomach here, really, about what I'd been representing in that industry. And I basically set up my own teaching centre in Australia and in the UK, taking executives and business leaders, as I had been, out into the wilderness, actually, to get to really think about what is sustainability, what is our impact on the environment, and how do we take those feelings about sustainability back into corporations. So this is going back, 20 years ago, when I really had my own epiphany about how we should be responsible in business. So that was the genesis of all of my teaching and the early seed for building ESA. So after 2000, I ran those programs in Tasmania and in China for 7 or 8 years actually, and they were very successful. And the feedback I was getting was that these senior people really enjoyed the experience of sustainability more than just the theory. So I ended up moving more into academia at that stage. and teaching at Cranfield University, Cranfield School of Management, which is where I still teach now in the UK. And really bringing that experiential learning around sustainability into traditional MBA programs, MSc programs, and into business consulting. And then I fell over. I had an accident in 2007. I had an accident in New Zealand when I was trekking, and I fractured my hip. So that changed a lot of my traveling opportunities because I was in a lot of pain. So Tasmania, China, all those places I'd been working with these lovely business leaders and managers became not so easy for me to travel to. And that was when I decided to build ESA in Europe. Okay. So that's really a bit of history. And what is ESA? It is a purpose-built training center for sustainability leadership and sustainability management. Most of my work is in corporations, but also these days I work a lot with startups and entrepreneurs because they, particularly in Greece, are the future of the economy. So why Drapanos? Why Crete? Well, Crete represents something that I found in Tasmania, which is an island state connected to a larger country. So it's a big country, Australia in the case of Tasmania, and Greece in terms of Crete, but it's unique and it's a microcosm. So both those island states, as a kind of a teaching center, have a microcosm of their own environmental problems, myths and storytelling. And so as a teacher and a researcher, they're both rich in teaching material and experience for people to come to those islands. So I chose Crete around that basis of being an island like Tasmania, and even some of the terrain looks really similar to Tasmania. It's fantastic. And also the location. So people come to ESA in Crete from India, from Dubai. Bahrain is 3 hours away. London is 3 hours away. Wow. Africa, it's a really central place in the world. Europe, but it's central to all those other accessibilities from other countries and managers and directors of from other countries. So that was another reason for my decision. And Drapanos itself, well, you've been there, Sharon. You've seen this lovely traditional mountaintop village, and you saw how the villagers loved us. They loved what we did there. Yeah. And they've really welcomed this tiny little village. And it is a very small village, isn't it? And it's a sustainable village. You've eaten in the two tiny tavernas, family-owned tavernas. All of that food is grown in the village. Wow. It's grown in the field right next to where we are in ESA. So I wanted to take people from the busy cities, from big corporations, back to basics, back to the land, back to the olive fields, back to eating fresh food. Do you remember the freshness of all those lovely vegetables?
Yeah. Fantastic. And I now own a bit of an olive tree as well there.
You do. Yeah, you own 1/10 of an olive tree, so you have to come back every year and pick your olives. So I chose Drapanos because I wanted the feeling of wilderness. I wanted that feeling of connection with nature, but it's also important that we do that in a community, a collective thinking about sustainability. Yeah. And I feel again the immersive feeling of being in that little village with the old women and the Greeks. Some of those people don't speak a word of English, but you don't notice that. There's that wonderful collective intention to help one another. About Drapanos itself, the village of Drapanos, another factor which I hadn't considered, I have to say, Sharon, this has evolved over the last few years, is that the Greek crisis has been dreadful, absolutely dreadful. The economic crisis has affected people. It's just still affecting people. There's no work for young people. Money is very scarce. And as a tourist, people won't see that when they come to Crete for their 2-week holidays. When you live in a village, as I most of the year do in Drapanos, you can see. But what the people of villages like Drapanos, small mountain villages, what they say is, we've always been poor. We've always farmed the land. We've always been resilient. This is nothing new to us. Yeah. We know how to look after ourselves and remain as a community. So again, as a teaching facility, this is a message that we can help spread the people who come to my centre from all around the world to actually see that firsthand. And also how generous these people are. They don't have very much, but they give whatever they have. And I think there's a really big sustainability message from that as well.
I saw that in the tavernas when we went for our dinner. I mean, it was very warmly and homely, and they just wanted to make sure everybody was happy. And So I felt that too.
Yes, and there's there's no issues with shipment worries or vehicles at the port or all the thing all those worries. They grow the stuff locally. They are resilient. They are
very very healthy food. Yeah,
very healthy.
So the reason I saw the tavernas was because you hosted a TEDx Drapanos Women event. And what inspired you to do that?
Well, I was lucky enough to be invited to close the TEDx Technical University of Hanya event in 2017, May 2017. They very kindly invited me to be the closing speaker, and the subject was about light and dark. And in fact, it was very much about the economic crisis and how these young students who were about to graduate would develop their confidence and resilience in going out into the world of work and living. And they were worried, really, really worried about what their future may or may not hold. There is no work in Greece. I mean, unemployment is still a very high number, particularly for the young people. So they asked me to talk about my experience of building ESA in Crete, how I overcome adversity, and something a little bit funny, and uplifting for them, to encourage them to find their own way in the world. And I was only one woman. There were two women. There was another Greek lady, me, and all the rest were men. I think it was 12 or 15 speakers. I can't exactly remember, but I'm not even Greek. So I said to the curator, whoa, hold on. We've got 200 lovely students here, of which at least 40% are young women. If you're asking me to talk about the light and dark of Greece and the future of young people, don't you think we should actually have more women talking about this subject? And he said, Sharon, we invited Greek women to speak, but they said they thought they had no story to tell. They thought they didn't have the confidence to speak on stage. They didn't know how to speak. They didn't think anyone would listen to them. And I was shocked by this, Sean. I was really shocked, because I know Greek women have very amazing stories to tell, and they're very interesting, particularly in the way that the world has changed for them in Greece as women, Greek women. And the crisis is opening up opportunities for entrepreneurism, a whole number of different opportunities for them that weren't there actually before the crisis. So I thought, oh, we have to change this. We have to address this. And I applied in the following January, I applied for a TEDx license for women. And with the plan being to train them, if they're saying they don't think they have the skills to public speak, well, we're a teaching academy. We can help them learn to gain those skills. And that's how it started. But I was rejected twice. My license for TEDx was rejected twice.
I love your tenacity.
Well, I felt it was important. I thought it was really important to address
you really cared for all of us over there. I mean, you felt like every support we needed was there. You were absolutely fabulous in the event you run.
Thank you.
I could see that was a lot of work, time and effort you put in. And you got Greek speaking women, didn't you?
Well, we had over 100 applications.
Wow.
Over 100 applications to speak, and of varying qualities. And it was very, very difficult to get down to 10 speakers, I have to tell you. But those 100 people now are on our database, and what we plan to do now is to invite them to learn to talk like TED. They don't have to do a TED talk. It's not for everybody. It is, it's hard work. It is hard work. To do it well, it's hard work. Yeah. And I think when people first apply to say, oh, I want to be a TED speaker, they think it's just like standing up and telling a story. You can do that, but it's not going to have as much value. So it's not for everyone. But if we can now tap into those 100 people who said, I'd like to give it a go, and then help them with their confidence, learning how to structure their story, learning, the wonderful work we did with Mie Elferson about how to make your story land with people. What's the science of people listening to you? We could help those women to develop that public.
Also the collaboration you created between the women who were the speakers. So that collaboration in itself brought so much knowledge from each other and different opinions. So it was a really good way to learn to develop your speech.
Well, I was just very proud of all of you. I mean, I set up all I did was set up an online Facebook group, really. It was up to you guys whether you're going to love each other or hate each other or compete. I mean, I didn't know if you were going to all compete, with each other, but you didn't. You supported each other. You loved one another. all the way through, there was just a sense of this common goal, this common vision, which is also goes back to my work around sustainability, is that my work is around finding collective sense making around sustainability. What are the anchors, particularly inside organizations? What are the common anchors, the common values, the common goal that are going to make us do the things, enact the things that we need to do for sustainability? Yeah. And I felt that in the TEDx, again, was something like a microcosm of that, actually, because you all wanted this to be the best we could all be. Yeah. I didn't see any one person being more selfish or me, or high maintenance. It was a collective feeling. It was a collective goal to be the best we possibly could be.
And that's why I want to do these interviews, because each one of us had such a individual, amazing experience getting there and doing the talk. And, you know, I really wanted to show that, because everybody sees the end video and they don't see the journey to get there. And like we're talking about today, all the support that was given for building our talks, all the videos where we'd say our talk's really scared and they'd all be a bit off the wall and not quite ready. And, you know, the group would just be very supportive and give, you know, good feedback and kind and compassionate advice on change, you know. And like you said, nobody tried to get up on each other. We were all, each woman had an amazing story to tell, and each one of us wanted to make sure that that got heard. And this is why I'm doing these interviews, to make sure that it gets heard again. And the woman who made that happen is you. So I'm starting with you.
Yes, well, I did, and I'm so glad, and I don't regret any of it at all. And going back to feedback, I mean, this is something, again, in a leadership position, in a business position, entrepreneur position, we have to be able to give feedback and take it. If we don't grow. We don't grow. And I know people are uncomfortable about giving feedback and taking it, but the way in which we do that, and that, again, that collective support structure is so important. We can apply that into the businesses that we run, the families that we manage. You look at one of our lovely speakers, Aruna, she's talking about the leadership skills she's learned from her little boy, her guru, her little boy. What a beautiful story. And she had over, I think, 1,200 views really quickly as soon as her talk went up. Yeah. So these are the important skills that we develop, that we then take into our homes and our families and our businesses as well.
And so you've done this amazing thing. What was your greatest challenges running the event, and what did it teach you?
The event, the great challenges. Well, I am quite experienced now at running a lot of complex events. I've done them for more than 20 years, all over the world. You know, getting like 300 mining executives into China and taking them out to the wilderness and all those things are always complex, and they never, ever go as you plan, ever. That's the one thing I've learned over all these years. Every event we run anywhere in the world never goes exactly to plan. And as you know, in Crete, we had the worst storms all year, and probably for several years. We don't get weather like that. It just was howling, a gale, a hurricane. It was a Beaufort 9, I think, hurricane, and the trees were over like this, and the rain was coming in like that. That's not normal at any time of the year. So, okay, these things happen. We've had other years where all sorts of things happen, but you pull through those. You just pull through. The hardest thing always is people. The biggest challenge of any event, it's not the weather, it's not the power going down, it's not people, it's not things not arriving on time, it's people. Always the biggest challenge is human beings. And when I say that, I mean managing expectations. So you have people who are frightened. No, ESA is not the wilderness to me, but it is to a lot of people. It's pitch black up there on the mountain. It's pitch black. There's no street lights. There's no lighting at all. It's pitch black. So you see the most beautiful Milky Way. You see the beautiful stars in the sky. But to some people, that's scary. And we have snakes, and we have all sorts of creatures, because it's nature. And those things do bother some people. So managing people's expectations is always really important, and being very clear up front what the rules are, where they're coming to, but they are safe. Yeah. And my priority as the owner of the academy and as a leader is to 100% make sure people always feel safe. So if you remember, Sharon, on rehearsal day, when the gale was blowing and the storm was happening, and our power just went down suddenly.
Yeah.
And it was
Candlelit rehearsals.
Wasn't it beautiful, the candles? But my priority was to make you all safe, because I knew within the next half an hour we would be in pitch black up there. I knew that. I know, and I don't mind. I walk around there in the darkness on my own all the time. I'm used to it. But you guys didn't know how dark it was going to become, and I did. And I remember just saying, light candles, everybody, light candles. As many as you see a candle, light it, light it, light it. And I was in a state of make people safe. So candles where there's a step, lighting where there's a hole, just make sure no one's going to fall over and hurt themselves. And no one was really listening to me at the time. And I remember saying, everybody, you have to do this now. And then everyone did it. I think that was really important. So what did I learn from it is really to continue the way we always have. And we're always very well prepared, very well experienced. Safety is always first for me, always. And I'm surrounded by a lovely team of people. I'm surrounded by my support staff are just glorious. And even, Sam Evans, our wonderful filmmaker, when it came to the candles, I was bending down, getting out candles, and he stood behind me and said, here, Sharon, I'll do all that for you. That's commitment, Sharon. That is a commitment and support to be the best we possibly can be. So you asked me what next?
Yeah, what's next for ESA?
Well, we're now 2019. This is year 7 since we built ESA. I built ESA in 2011 and we opened in 2012. During the really depth of the Great Crisis. So my timing, you could say, without a dreadful, already fantastic. Actually, it was fantastic because now we're in a really good position to help young entrepreneurs and businesses recover. Like I said, the students who are graduating, there was no work for them to go to. Yeah. So we have to help them find their business skills, confidence on social media, confidence in writing, all those things. So I mentor for Reload Greece here in the UK and also in Athens. And Reload Greece is getting young people back into work, back in the home country of Greece. And that is through entrepreneurship, setting up their own company. It's pro bono work and I'm very happy to do that. So what next? I continue my Reload Greece training, mentoring. We have a wonderful EU project which is called Stop Entrepreneurial Cliches. ESA represents Greece for a 2-year fabulous project with our partners in France, Bordeaux, Slovenia and in Ireland. And what we're looking at is what are the cliches that stop young people setting up their enterprises right after university. And we're building a suite of tools and support training tools for people in Greece and those 4 countries. That's really a beautiful 2-year project. And that's one of our priorities this year. But, year 7 now of ESA, we have a very, very sound business model. We have executive retreats, which is my traditional work, top level managers and directors coming for a weekend, an immersive retreat. We have citizen scientist programs for the tourists that come. They can either come for an evening to either do wine tasting or sustainable olive, discussions or watch the stars. So we've also combined our traditional training for managers with the tourism industries all around us. So those are very popular all year round. Twice a week we have those events. And
it's a beautiful place to visit. Anybody who's thinking about re-educating the way they behave in life and all this sort of consumerism mentality that ends up leaving you just with a hole inside, I would say try and go to ESA and experience where the olive trees are, the story you told me about them 3 olive trees that are native.
Oh, they're not mine.
Yeah, they're not yours. Yeah. And the lands are beautiful. The building is just you can breathe there. It's beautiful.
Trupti called it the womb of Mother Earth because the walls are made of earth, etc. And people come back, Sharon. People come to us from Australia, from the US. We get groups of students and also just holiday makers come to us from the US, Dubai, I told you, and people come back again and again because they love it so much. It fulfills them in a way. It nourishes them in a way that they can take back into their home lives, and it makes them think in a different way. Yeah, it makes them value different things, which is what I did originally in Tasmania. Taking executives into the wilderness of Tasmania, and some of these men crying in a wooden the wooden hut while we were doing our scoping studies and stakeholder analysis or traditional, management training for sustainability, and men crying and saying, I never bring my little children out to the wilderness. I'm Australian, and it's taken an English woman to bring me here in Tasmania. Well, that's suddenly reconnecting and revaluing with what's important, and that's what we do at ESA.
And that's what you're talking about, the collective mindset. The work you're doing in ESA, and then when people take that knowledge back and it interacts with their life, and suddenly they don't need so many things they thought they actually needed, just like the people of Drapanos. They're like, well, we've always been like this and we're fine. We eat, yeah, we don't have lots of money, but we're happy. We support each other, have community, love, nourishment. It is getting back to basics, like you said, and learning. It's a really nice place to be.
It is. And collective mindset. Well, my academic work is around collective sense making. And ESA is a feeling, it's an experience. And I'm quite perturbed with the theory and rhetoric of sustainability that is empty and shallow. It doesn't create any action, even to the point of not using a plastic straw. How easy would it be for us not to have a plastic straw in our drink? Yet still, we have the intention to not have the plastic straw, and then you go to the bars in Crete during the summer, there's plastic straws everywhere, which of course end up in the ocean and inside all the fish and turtles. So I'm really interested in why that collective sense making doesn't shift from intention to action. And even worse, that when people click something on Facebook, they make a click and a like, they actually think they've done something good. They've done nothing. They've done nothing other than make a click. There's a strange disconnect between intention and acting. And there was a program on TV just at the weekend with some twins, actually. One was hitting a baseball through a virtual reality, and the other one was really doing it. And then in real life, and they tested their abilities after the same period of practice. And not surprising, the virtual reality training was not as effective as doing the real thing. And I think that's the issue with sustainability. Talking about sustainability in a non-sustainable environment, not feeling it, is a disconnect. It's a disconnect. And that's what I'm aiming to try and change.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to have this interview with me. I much appreciate that. And yes, I will be coming back to see you at ESA. And I'm just very happy that we met in the last year, and look forward to lovely things in the years to come.
Lovely. Good luck with you for all your fantastic work. I think what you're doing is absolutely spot on. We can't address sustainability if we're not sustainable in ourselves. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for the platform as well.
Thank you.